This is Rabbi Ephraim Osgood from Beverly Hills, California, and this is from 5 to 125, Torah for all ages. Today we're going to discuss Mordechai and Haman. Many times in Megillat Esther, there are things that are going on that are not found in the text of Megillat Esther. For example, Hashem's name is not mentioned at all in the entire Sefer Megillat Esther. When it comes to Mordechai and Haman, if we look in Midrashim as well as other Sfarim, we're going to be able to find a lot more history of these two characters before Megillat Esther. Perek Bet of Megillat Esther were first introduced to Mordechai as somebody who is not a young man. As a matter of fact, Mordechai, at the time of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, was exiled with Yechonia, the king of Yehuda, by Nebuchadnezzar to Bavel. Right. Last week, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, they're all being exiled by Nebuchadnezzar. He knows talent when he sees it. The question we would ask then is, how does Mordechai end up back in Shushan if he was exiled from Yerushalayim to Bavel? We're going to find out that there was actually another step in between. In Sefer Ezra, right at the beginning, Perek Aleph, Koresh gives the Jews permission to begin work on rebuilding the Beit HaMikdash. He saw what happened to Belshazzar when he messed around with the Beit HaMikdash. He doesn't want to fall victim, and he gives the Jews permission. And in Perek Bet, we actually see Mordechai listed as one of the people going back to Yerushalayim from Bavel with Zerubbabel to begin work on the Beit HaMikdash. However, there are enemies of the Jewish people, the Shomronim, the Samaritans. They're a group of outsiders in Eretz Yisrael, brought in by Sancherev 100 years before the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, when he mixed up the entire Middle East to lose everybody's sense of nationality. The Jewish people, of course, were the only ones who really did not. Anyway, in Perek Dalet, it's very, very interesting who writes the letter against the Jewish people. One of the people listed, in fact, the scribe, Shimshi Safra, who the Mefarshim tell us is, yes, Shimshi, the son of Haman. Why is Haman's son writing a letter against the Jewish people? Because Haman is one of the Shomronim. And the Medrash in Perek Hey, Pasuk Tet of Megillat Esther, Medrash Agadat Esther, tells us that, as a matter of fact, the reason Haman was so consumed with hatred of Mordechai, Vayamaleh Haman al Mordechai Chema, was because they actually knew each other from Yerushalayim. They were both arguing. Does the king let us build the Beit HaMikdash? Did he stop the building of the Beit HaMikdash? You send your representative, we'll send ours, and we'll advocate, we'll argue before the king. And that's what Mordechai and Haman are doing in Shushan. The Medrash actually has a whole other story about while they're traveling and what happens to the two of them. Anyway, Mordechai and Haman are actually in Shushan to advocate before Achashverosh concerning the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash. And so therefore, when Esther comes to be taken by Achashverosh as one of the girls, it makes sense that Mordechai sees a larger picture. Perhaps having Esther on the inside will help the Jews get the Beit HaMikdash rebuilt. And the relationship does continue, because Esther is actually the one who reports Bigtan and Teresh trying to kill Achashverosh. Esther and Mordechai are going back and forth with different messengers. They do have a relationship. The Rishon LeZion, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, points out that the reason Mordechai told Esther not to tell her nation, not to tell her heritage, was so that they could continue their relationship. It's only later, when Haman goes to kill the Jewish people, that Mordechai realizes perhaps Esther was put here for a different purpose, to save the Jewish people. And that's what he tells her. Who knows? Maybe you were put here in order to save the Jewish people. Maybe it wasn't about the Beit HaMikdash. By the way, who's the person who gives the Jews permission eventually to build the Beit HaMikdash? Darius II, Esther and Achashverosh's son. So it was part of the larger picture. It's just not the story there of Megillat Esther. That's the story of the saving of the Jewish people. So, just to review, Mordechai goes to Bavel from Yerushalayim, back to Yerushalayim to build the Beit HaMikdash. He and Haman travel to Shushan to advocate before Achashverosh concerning the building of the Beit HaMikdash. And finally, that's perhaps why Esther is pushed into this position. The leader of the Jewish people is letting his adoptive daughter attempt to marry the king? Yes, because he has a larger agenda here. He sees that there might be another purpose for Esther. And as a matter of fact, not only the saving of the Jewish people, but also the building of the Beit HaMikdash are stories here in Megillat Esther. One is on the surface, and one is Haster, hidden. Shabbat Shalom, and Freilichen.